Hey there, this is Dr. Evan Osar, developer of the Integrative Movement System. Welcome to this edition of Integrative Movement Insider. Recall from part 1 of this two-part video series, we discussed the foundational ABCs and how the ABCs help us train those older clients that have advanced spinal conditions such as spinal osteoarthritis, spinal stenosis, and or spondylolisthesis. Recall that the A of the foundational ABCs is alignment. We want to help our client develop and maintain their most optimal alignment of that thoracopelvic cylinder, or that thorax over top the pelvis. The B of the ABCs, breathing. We want to help our clients develop more optimal three-dimensional breathing because that does three specific things. One, it helps the client maintain thoracic and spinal mobility. It helps the client, two, develop and maintain more optimal stability. Remember that breathing helps to regulate internal pressure between the thorax and the abdominal and pelvic cavities, therefore helping to create that internal pressure regulation, which creates stability. And then finally, it also helps us decompress. Proper breathing is the most effective strategy for decompressing the trunk, spine, pelvis, and hips. Now we're going to move on to the C of the foundational ABCs, control. How do we help our clients develop that core control or control of that thoracopelvic cylinder as they move into their functional movement patterns? Recall that we looked at the modified plank position in the last video. So we use a modified plank position against the wall, and then we also progress that to more of the traditional plank position on an elevated surface. Now we want to teach our clients how to maintain that alignment of the thoracopelvic cylinder as well as three-dimensional breathing through a functional movement pattern so the muscles around the trunk, spine, pelvis, and hip complex can appropriately work, and the client can learn and understand how to dissociate or move the shoulders and the hips independent of the trunk and spine. We're going to use the medicine ball chop and the cable chop patterns. They're basically the exact same pattern, except the medicine ball chop version introduces an extension bias onto the trunk and spine, whereas the cable version introduces more of a flexion bias onto the trunk and spine. Regardless of the pattern we use, we're teaching our client how to maintain neutral and control of the thoracopelvic cylinder so that when they're lifting something from the ground or up onto a surface, that they're able to maintain a foundational control of that thoracopelvic cylinder. Or when they're grabbing something and moving it down, that they're also able to resist that downward momentum and gravity and maintain neutral alignment of the thoracopelvic cylinder. So, during these patterns, we want to ensure that the movement of the limbs does not change that position and control of the thoracopelvic cylinder. So here's what it looks like with the medicine ball version. We want to make sure that the client aligns their head and neck, aligns their thoracopelvic cylinder to the best of their ability. They're basically going to do a hip hinge pattern where they load up the posterior chain while maintaining alignment of that thoracopelvic cylinder, and now they lift the ball up, and it's more of a momentum of swinging or pendulum of the arms, increasing or flexing at the hips. So they're doing a hip hinge, but there should be no change, no relative change of that thoracopelvic cylinder throughout the pattern. So therefore, the load should not be changing the position of their TPC. The cable chop pattern is exactly the same pattern. I want to align the head and neck, align that thorax over top of the pelvis to the best of our client's ability. And now as I chop the arms down, again, there should be no change of my thoracopelvic cylinder, the head and neck alignment. So again, I'm reinforcing that alignment and I'm controlling against this flexion-based movement of my limbs. So control through the eccentric phase, control through the concentric phase of the chop pattern. So therefore, the chop pattern does not change or alter my thoracopelvic cylinder alignment. So really two great functional ways, functional patterns to reinforce optimal alignment, breathing, and control of that thoracopelvic cylinder so your clients can do the things that they need to, want to, and love to do, and more importantly, do it safely and effectively without overcompensating and or creating challenges to the trunk, spine, and pelvis, and especially in those clients that have these advanced spinal conditions. So this is Dr. Evan Osar with Integrative Movement Insider. I hope this video series helped you understand how to work with older clients, and our ultimate goal is to help them develop a more optimal posture and movement strategy so that they're able to use their body in the way it's intended to be used without overloading certain areas of the body, especially like the low back, which leads to so many of our clients' conditions, and that they can do the things that they need to, want to, and love to do. If you're looking for more resources on training the general population and really understanding how to train the thorax as part of the thoracopelvic cylinder, then check out our brand new online portal where we go into 3 hours on how do you assess the thoracopelvic cylinder, how do you train the foundational ABCs, alignment, breathing, and control in your general population clients, and more importantly, how do you use this information and progress them into those functional movement patterns that they need to do to achieve their health and fitness goals. So if you're looking for more information on that, click on the link below and we'll see you inside. This is Dr. Evan Osar. We'll catch you next time at Integrative Movement Insider. Take care.